consequences for my daughter. I not only thought about my daughter, I was unselfish enough to think about the world.
Everybody's children.
Everybody's children.
The
or
village.
either themselves.
The village.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I wanted them to be aware, because the way that they was telling me and the covering up, if it didn't happen before, it's gonna happen again. So I wanted to bring awareness.
Yeah,
to
with
the
all
world.
the sex trafficking
You know-
and stuff
you know-
that's going on out
save
here,
somebody.
it
My
leaves the
daughter's
door open.
gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Save somebody.
Are you? What are your feelings?
So in this video, I just wanted to connect some dots, put some things together, some things we might have forgot about, and some things that I'm bringing back, because I feel like now we can make sense of it and use it to see through some things. So please pay attention. The first thing I want to say is this image, if you look at it, it says basically it's the electrics for the grill rest. So this kind of proves that this kitchen is the same kitchen. It also proves that it is very close to where that grill rest is. So it makes sense. Why would there be the electrics to the grill rest in this kitchen, but it's not the one getting used? Okay, so that's the first. That's a lie. It says it clear as day on that what I think could be some type of fuse box. Okay, so yeah, that's something I wanted to show you. Also, I'm very concerned with the pictures that they took. Some are very blurry, and they shouldn't be blurry. And this is down to the photographer not setting the camera in the way it should be for the images that are taken. If it is darker, then he needs to make sure that shutter is open. And also he needs a stand for the camera if he's going to have a slower shutter speed, because it will cause that blur that you see. So I feel that would have made a huge difference. I mean, I personally wouldn't go anywhere without using a stand for my camera in this particular style, fashion of taking this image in this dark area. So I just think that the photographer wasn't really a forensic crime scene photographer. It was just a police officer who took pictures of the scene, which is fine if that's how their policy is, that they can do that, that's fine. But I don't want the quality of a forensic crime scene photographer, the quality would be a lot different. It would be, and these blurry images wouldn't even be, there would be other images, basically. They would have put those images in, but there would be other images for the blurred ones so that we can see through we can see that there's nothing wrong in that image, because the blur can obscure some small pieces of evidence if there are any in place. I also want to play you this recording that I found, where Kenneka Jenkins says that she has on, I think, Uggs, and she takes them off to fight because they're slippery.
Bitch, you did not whip me out my shoes. I took my shoes off because I got us some damn slippery ass fucking Uggs. Bitch, I just beat you. You ain't even just hit me when you was just on that fucking ground. Bitch, you did not whip me out my shoes. I took my shoes off because I got us some damn slippery ass fucking Uggs. Bitch, I just beat you. You ain't even just hit me when you was just on that fucking ground. Bitch, you just...
Now, if that's something that she does, it's interesting when we look at the fact that her shoe was off in the freezer. So could that indicate that she took her trainers off so that she could fight easier, and she didn't really get the chance, or she was in the mode of fighting or being attacked, so it could be that a shoe came off if she was getting dragged, a shoe came off if she was fighting. But it's just interesting to hear this, because it could also indicate there was a struggle if she took her trainer off. And it's all these things that are very important. It's these things that the medical examiner also needs to take into account when determining how this girl died. She can only give you the cause of death. The medical examiner cannot tell you how how Kenneka Jenkins died. She can only give you the cause of death. So please keep that in mind. I also wanted to show you these doors. Obviously, these are the doors that Kenneka Jenkins walks through the second time when she goes up the stairs. She comes out of these doors, and that's where you see her hanging around by the stairs, looking a little bit confused, going back and forwards, and then she comes back, and these are the doors. And what I wanted to show you was the fact that you can see through them. There's windows. So if someone was in that area, behind those doors, you would be able to see that they was there without those doors being opened. So that's something else that we need to take into consideration. It's all these little factors that could help put the pieces of the puzzle together and make sense of a lot. Something else is the forensics. As we all know, there was hardly any done. Fingerprints, nothing. I'm going to put up something to show you what they should have done and didn't do. If you want to screenshot it and keep it for yourself, that's fine. But I just want you to see how much they did not do and what they should have done. Simple things like wearing gloves. They didn't all wear gloves when they came into that crime scene. There should have been a primary crime scene and a secondary crime scene. The primary crime scene in their eyes should be the freezer. I think that could be a secondary crime scene. I think that she was killed somewhere else, or something happened to cause her to die somewhere else. So I still believe that's a secondary crime scene. And it's important to note that, because a secondary crime scene will hold less DNA, which is why a lot of people do move the body. But if that did occur, then I believe that freezer could be a secondary crime scene and not a primary crime scene. But regardless, that party, that room, they had the party in room 926, should be a secondary crime scene. If she was possibly drugged in that room at the time, you've got to remember, this is at the time where they didn't know what happened. That should have been a secondary crime scene. It shouldn't have been left and for them to leave. It should have been locked up. It should have been taped up. The kitchen should have been taped up for a couple of days so they could come back and do forensics if they needed to. And also the surveillance should have been taken by the police officers in some type of way. It should not have been passed over by what I believe to be possible suspects. I found an article where it says the first person to find the body, if someone finds someone who's died or been murdered, they are the prime suspect, because sometimes the person who first goes to the scene is trying to get rid of evidence, change the crime scene or corrupt the crime scene in some type of way, or act as if they found the body to look as if they are not a suspect. And then when you add all of that into all those, the odd factors of that beverage manager, how he's been acting, it to me, it does give a lot of suspicion. Something else is this freezer temperature gauge, or what you want to call it. When you look at the actual freezer, not the cooler, the freezer that was within the cooler that she was found in, there's no number over the door or anything like that. It just looks like it's been drawn on, freshly drawn on, in the same pen that was used to write on the temperature meters on that wooden door outside of the kitchen. When you look at those temperature monitors, the freezer one is written differently to the cooler ones. Now, to me, it's little things like that show a lot. It could indicate that it was written on at a different time. It could indicate that it was written on by someone else. It also looks like the R is written over, like it was an F and then they've written an R over it. Now, I don't know how quickly they can put these meters up and connect them to freezers, or you get what I'm trying to say. But It's interesting when you look at the freezer one. It's written differently. It looks like something's been rubbed off and written back on. And then the number that correlates to that on the freezer looks fresh. Now, what I'm trying to say with this is, could this indicate that the freezer was just put on? They had to sort it out to make it look like it was functioning when it wasn't. To give a cause of death for Kenneka, which doesn't link back to the hotel. Because to me, it looks like this is freshly written on the door, and the meter has been bodged, basically, just to make it look like it should be there. It's just an opinion, but I thought it'd be interesting for you guys to have a look at and give your own opinions on, or add it to your own research and have a look yourself. When you look at the number on the cooler, then you look at the door, and you see how beaten up the freezer and the cooler is, how dirty the freezer and the cooler is, and that's written on quite freshly. For me, it is something that could possibly lead to something that is corrupted. That's all I'm going to say. We also have to remember that something else that we need to think about is that lock on the door. Now, in the beginning, everyone was saying it's so hard to open the door. You could never open the door, be drunk. We saw how easy that door was to open with the freezer on when the officer came and done the videography of the route that she took. Freezer was on. There was icicles in the freezer, so it'd been on for, a few days, and it was easy to open. But that means it would have been easy to get out with a big glowing button, apparently in the dark. Okay? It would have been easy for her to get back out. So everyone wanted to say, oh no, she couldn't get in, but no, let's deal with the truth. It's easy to get in. We've got to deal with facts. This is why I'm saying facts always uncover the truth. Okay? It was easy to get in, but it's also easy to get out. In fact, it looked even easier to get back out. So the truth always the truth will always find justice. Dealing with egos and wanting to be correct isn't going to get you anywhere.